Day of July, Lou, Jackie, and Mark Ferree in for Mr. Parkin, who's taking a couple of days off. Rag, Brying, and look who has returned. Ladies and gentlemen, he was off boating somewhere fancy, I'm sure. Look at that nice tan he has. Yes, indeed, it is Ron the Car Guy.
It could be a spray tan.
From Westside Auto Pro.
So do they make air conditionings for bicycles?
You know, I think the faster you pedal and the more holes that are in your helmet, it feels like air conditioning.
Or your head.
Exactly.
One of the two.
Yeah, you'd have to have holes in your head. I think today it's going to be warm out there for those guys.
Yeah, it is.
Talk about timing on your visits here and what you want to talk about. You could not get any better than what's happening today.
It's because I wrote the show yesterday.
How about that, huh? And you
And it was
controlled
hot
the weather.
yesterday.
And you controlled the weather yesterday.
Well, I knew Jason wasn't going to be here, so he pre-planned. He canned up the weather and stuff for us.
So. Good. Well, obviously, we're talking about air conditioning on days like today and a bunch of things to get to, so let's dive right
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the first things that I did want to talk about, because we get questions when it gets hot like this, I wanted to explain just briefly how an air conditioner works, because the average person, I mean, doesn't know. They turn it on and it blows cold air. And so what we get this time of year, especially on the warmer days, is we get questions like, my air conditioning doesn't seem as cold, or it doesn't cool down until I've driven for a couple of miles. And the way air conditioning works is it actually removes the heat from the air inside the car or inside your house. It doesn't bring in cold air, it just removes the heat from the air that's there.
Okay.
So it only has a certain amount of capability. So on a really hot day, when the sun's been shining in the car and everything's superheated, it's going to take longer for it to pull the extra heat out of that air, which is why it takes, you have to drive it a couple of miles before it gets cold, or it doesn't seem as cold as it normally does, because it's working harder because there's more heat to remove out of the air on a 100-degree day than there is on a 70-degree day.
Now, is there a range of how cool it can reduce the temperature of air?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Generally, a good rule of thumb is if you can drop the outside temperature by about 20 to 25 degrees, your air conditioning is working really good. So on a 90-degree day, if you get it down to 70, it's doing its job. On a 70-degree day, you might get it down to 50 inside the car. But 70 feels great on a 90-degree day.
Sure,
I mean, it feels cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and of course the longer you run it, then if you drove from here to Dallas on a 90-degree day, you'd probably get it to where you have to turn it down and stuff, because it just keeps taking more and more heat out of the air that's inside the car.
Okay.
So that's one thing, is just to keep in mind, basically this is the part that's inside the dashboard. They take this part and they put the dash in over it. So this is called an evaporator. If it ever leaks or has to be replaced, which isn't uncommon anymore, you have to take the dash and everything out of the car to get to it. But what it does is the refrigerant, the Freon, cycles through here, and the car, the fan blows air through this. This is like a radiator, and when the air comes out the other side, it's pulled the heat out of it, so the air feels cool.
Okay.
And then that's what it blows out onto your feet or your face or wherever you have it going. So one thing I did want to talk a little bit about is something you can do on a hotter day, and I think maybe we have a graphic we can put up here on the screen, is the controls. You can see the red arrow points to what they call the recirculate button, and people don't always understand, should I have this turned on, should I have it turned off, why is it here, what's it do?
Right.
What that button does when it's activated is it recycles or recirculates the air that's already in the car. When it's not activated, it brings air in from outside of the car. So on a 60 or 70-degree day, if you're running your air conditioning, it'd be nice to pull air in from the outside because it's fresh and it's clean and hasn't been cycled through the car, and it'll cool it down and blow it on you. On a 90 or a 100-degree day, you want that button to be turned on. You want to keep recycling the air that's in the car, because if it takes it from 100 degrees down to 90, you cycle it through again, it might drop it to 80, you cycle it through again, it might drop it to 70. It just keeps reusing the air that's already inside the car.
The colder it gets every time it goes through.
Correct, because there's less heat to pull out of it.
Okay.
So that's a key button to use on these hot days to help cool the car down faster. And even if you have it on like the auto mode, like most cars have climate control now, that's still an option to recirculate the air.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't automatically do that for you. So that's a button you want to look at and see if it's the lever's turned on or it's lit up or activated on a hot day. The other tip that we've got is when you first get in your car, like it's sitting outside in the parking lot now this afternoon when you go to leave and you get into it, and God knows what the temperature is going to be inside. It's got to be well over 100 degrees. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to be in there or have a pet or something in there. But put the windows down for the first 2 or 3 blocks, and let the air just purge all that superheated hot air. Exactly. It's only 90 degrees outside, but with the sun load, it's 120 in your car. Just don't let the air conditioning do that job. Just purge it out for a couple of blocks and put the windows up, and then let the air conditioning kick in and roll. Unless you're, if you're fortunate enough to have like remote start on your car, just start it up and let the air conditioning run for 20 minutes or so. But purge the hot air out of there. Use the recirculation mode. And then the other thing, and we talk about this over and over on the show, the cabin air filter. And a lot of cars, most cars have them. Not all cars do. We found out your Taurus didn't have one. But it's like the furnace filter in your house. So if this unit was in your house, it would have the furnace filter in front of it, and the fan would suck air through it, so the filter would clean it.
Would catch everything.
Exactly. This is in your car, so your cabin air filter sits in front of this, and as it pulls air through there, it traps all the pollen and the pollutants and the dust and stuff like that. Well, if that filter gets restricted, we can't bring as much air through this unit, and if we're bringing less air through the unit, it's not going to work as well.
Less efficient.
Exactly. The other thing that we see sometimes is we'll go to check the cabin air filter on a car, and someone's taking it out and throwing it away. Well, then the grill work on here becomes your filter, because you don't have a filter in front of it to protect the air. So the fan is pulling that air through here without a cabin air filter, and all that dirt and debris gets stuck inside.
That's when you find
fans.
The small creatures usually, isn't it? Yeah.
The creatures usually are laying right
bottom,
here. Absolutely,
yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
But without that filter, now we're plugging up an expensive component. And the only way I've got to clean this and get it to completely work again is to take it out of the car, and that costs a lot more than a cabin air filter. So we want to check those filters.
What does a cabin air filter cost?
It depends on the vehicle. Some of the higher end vehicles, they've got like charcoal activation and stuff in them to take out allergy causing stuff. But usually somewhere between $25 and $50.
Okay.
Which I can't take this component out for $50 to clean it. So. And if that's a small price to pay to be cool on a day like today or yesterday. So make sure the cabin air filters are checked. And if you have any questions as to whether or not your car has a cabin air filter, just give me a call. I'll be happy to answer.
Now, how common is vapor locking nowadays with new technology?
Not even possible.
Not even possible.
Not even possible. The high pressure from the fuel pumps and stuff.
Eliminates that.
Yep, it's gone. Okay. It's over. A term of the past.
Term of the past.
Yep,
okay,
you can tell where you and I came
from. Check that off the list. Okay.
And then the last thing that I did want to talk briefly
Jackie's
about.
Jackie's looking at us going like, what are you talking about?
I just want to make sure the darn thing works. I mean, when it gets to be this hot and people are just cranking it, they get in their car and they crank it. Is that a bad thing?
No.
To do? I mean, because you don't want it to not be working.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have it turned up on high or if you've got it turned on low. The meat and potatoes of it is still working. It works hard. I mean, it works really hard on a day like today. It's putting a strain on it, but it doesn't matter how you as the operator are making it function.
Now, what about leaving your air conditioning on when you turn the car off? So when you start it back up, it's already on. Does it matter?
Awesome. You're from the vapor lock days, aren't you?
That's the reason I'm asking. Yeah, I'm still not buying the fact we're not going to vapor lock. So. Too many times.
That used to be, along the lines, you wanted to have the air conditioning turned off when you started the car. Today you don't have to because the computer keeps it turned off until the car's started running, and then it knows when to bring it on. So, and then the last thing we want to talk a little bit about is the smell. And some of us have experienced it. I'm sure Jason has, and he's not here, so we'll pick on him. But the musty smell.
Rag-Bri, is that what you're saying?
Well, trust me, this smell is on Rag-Bri. But I call it the dirty sock smell, the sweaty sock smell. And we've all been in cars where they turn the air conditioning on and you just get that pungent odor that initially comes out, and then as it runs,
moldy smell.
Exactly. And then it either goes away, but in reality you just get used to it. And what that is it's actually caused by mildew and mold. Because as this component is removing the heat, it's sweating. And all that water that's running off it is what you see dripping out from underneath your car. Well, when you shut the car off, this is wet. And it's hot and it's humid out, and that superheated air starts building up inside the car, and we've got a wet condition here, and mold and mildew build up on this. And that's what's creating that smell. So it's not good, for your lungs and for your body to be breathing that if you have that smell. There's one way you can do to prevent it, and it's before you shut the car off, turn the air conditioner off or turn it on vent so that the freon's not circulating, but leave the fan on high so it continues to draw air through there because it'll dry it out.
The coils?
Yeah. Now, no one's going to do that. Who wants to sit in a car hot and let it do that? But that's really the only way to prevent it. The other thing you can do is have somebody professionally remove that. And there's actually kits out there, or there's a machine that we have where we can go in with a wand and we just spray foam this with a product that will alleviate the mold and mildew that's on there, and then we flush it out. It goes out the drain where the water normally.
So you don't have to take the unit out, then.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So that problem can be resolved. Especially if you have allergies or you drive your car, long distances.
Stinks.
It stinks and you feel sick and stuff like that. There is a way to fix that.
Well, how long of a process is that?
That takes about an hour to do.
Okay. And how pricey is that?
Runs about $100-$120.
Okay. A lot cheaper than taking the whole unit out.
Oh, yeah. You'd spend, on some cars, you'll spend $1,000 removing this component. It takes hours.
All right. So a lot of technology, a lot of advances.
Exactly. Exactly. No more vapor locking.
No more vapor locking.
And you can start your car with the air conditioning turned on.
Is this a great country or
That's
what?
the two things we have learned here today.
But if people do have any questions, where can they find you, Ron?
They can find me at westsideautopros.com or askronthecarguy.com. I answer all questions.
All right. So big question is now, final question. Zoo Brew tomorrow. You going to be there?
Absolutely. We'll give away some chairs.
Okay.
Now, it's Christmas in July.
Wow. Should I wear my Santa hat?
That's what I'm hoping.
That's
Ding, 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 ding,
ding.
All right.
I gotta find it.
Santa Ron.
There we go.
We'll be out at Zoo Brew tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. So looking forward to it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Back.
Thank you.
Glad you had a good vacation. We'll be right back. This is Great Day Live in Des Moines.